Good afternoon. It seems like forever since I was with you last. The Sunday after Christmas, I came in and I left fairly quickly. Had a really nasty cold. I want to thank Dick Sipe for preaching on such short notice. And I want to thank Deb Bruce for stepping in and leading the worship. And then last week, we got frozen out of our own building. And so I wanted to take the opportunity to come and to share with you a little bit about the last two sermons that I would have preached. Because I think that they are so important for us as individuals. The point of the text is so important for us as individuals and as a church as we jump off together into the new year. I don't know about you, but I absolutely love kids' movies. In fact, one of the best things about having kids is being able to blame them for going to watch the kids' movies. And one of my favorite ones is Moana. And the reason why it's one of my favorites is because it so clearly articulates the importance of understanding where you've come from, where you're going, but who you are. It so clearly articulates the importance of identity. Now, each and every one of us goes through the process of understanding who we are. It's called the process of individuation. We look at our parents and what they have taught us and what we've heard from them, and we see the world around us, and we begin to understand how we're going to relate to our friends. And we begin to form a sense of who I am, what I'm worth, where I belong. These questions of who am I, where do I belong, and what do I have to offer are some of the biggest questions we face throughout the course of our lifetime. And it's important that we get it right. Because how we understand ourselves will dictate what we are capable of. Throughout the course of the movie, Moana is trying to figure out who she is. She is part of a community that is afraid of the sea, even though they live in an island surrounded by the sea. But for her, it draws her. The sea draws her to itself. And she finds as a young lady a stone, and the stone ends up being what's called the heart of Te Fiti. Maui had stolen it from her. The story goes that Maui stole it from her, and that Moana was now tasked with the responsibility of replacing it. And it's an epic journey full of missteps, full of hardships, full of successes, full of confidence building. And near the end, as she has reached Te Fiti, or the other word for her is Taka. As she reaches Taka and she is trying to restore the stone, Taka is lashing out, and as an island is lashing out at her and throwing lava at her, and she comes to the place where she and Maui have been defeated, and she just about gives up. And what happens is her grandmother shows up in the midst of her struggle, and she finally gets it. She finally realizes it's because of who she is that she is the one that's truly capable of restoring the heart of Tafiti, restoring balance to life. And she sings this song, and the song builds, and it builds, and it builds, and then the last words are, I am Moana. She comes to this understanding of who she is. Now, this is just a children's story, but it illustrates, at least for me, and hopefully for us, the importance of identity. And really, our last two scriptures deal with who Jesus is. Our first scripture was Luke 2:41 through 52. And it says, now his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up according to custom. And when the feast was ended, as they were returning, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem. His parents did not know it, but supposing him to be in the group, they went a day's journey. But they began to search for him among their relatives and acquaintances. And when they did not find him, they returned to Jerusalem, searching for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were amazed at his understanding and his answers. And when his parents saw him, they were astonished. And his mother said to him, Son, why have you treated us so? Behold, your father and I have been searching for you in great distress. And he said to them, Why were you looking for me? Did you not know that I must be in my father's house? And they did not understand the saying that he spoke to them. And he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was submissive to them. And his mother treasured up all these things in her heart. And Jesus increased in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and man. Jesus, this is the first time in the Gospel of Luke where Jesus takes his own initiative. And basically what's happened is the family has gone with their entire village, their entire town, to celebrate the Passover feast, which was a feast that required men to make the journey there to Jerusalem to celebrate God passing over the people of Israel and to celebrate God's bringing them out of slavery into freedom. And the whole family has gone, and the whole town has gone, and they've gone together so that they could protect each other, so that they could pool their resources, so that they could be safer, so they could make it a safer journey. And after they had been there, they were expected to go home together. But Jesus stays behind. And his parents, understandably so, get distressed when they find out that Jesus isn't there. And so if you can imagine, they've traveled a day. They've found out at the end of this travel day, when they're tired, probably fairly emotional, that their child isn't there any longer. And so they make the return trip back to Jerusalem, and they are frantically searching in the streets for 3 days to find him. And they finally find him in the temple courts, talking to scribes and teachers. He's engaged in the process of learning and discussing who God is. And Mary's like, Jesus, what are you doing? Like, we have been in deep distress looking for you. And Jesus is like, didn't you know I'd be in my Father's house? Now, when I was a kid, I used to look at this and think, whoa, Jesus, I can't believe you'd respond to to marry that way, but because it can come off as being disrespectful, but I don't think he was meaning to be disrespectful. I think that he was expressing to her a realness, a realness of his understanding of who he is. He is the Son of God. That's who Jesus is. And because he was the Son of God, we should know where he would be, because where he is where he belongs as the Son of God, sitting and learning about his Father's business. Who he understands himself to be dictates where he is and what he is investing in. And I think the same is true for us, is who we understand ourselves to be will dictate to us where we understand we belong and what we understand we're supposed to be about. The second text that we were supposed to hear from is 1 John 1 through 18. And it says this: "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness, to bear witness about the light, that all might believe through him. He was not the light, but came to bear witness about the light. The true light, which gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made through him, yet the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own people did not receive him. But to all who did receive him, who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. And we have seen his glory as of the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. John bore witness about him and cried out, 'This was he of whom I said, he who comes after me ranks before me, because he was before me.' For from his fullness we have all received grace upon grace. For the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God, the only God, who is at the Father's side. He has made him known." And so what we see here is a little bit more about what it means that Jesus was the Son of God, that Jesus was co-eternal with God, that Jesus was before there was nothing else. And through Jesus, everything came into being. And Jesus is the light of men. Jesus is the one who has come to show the way back to God, to show the way to the Father. Jesus has come to bring us home. And what's really important here is that we see that if you have faith in him, you have the ability to come home. Because through our faith in him, we have been given the privilege of being called children of God. When I was in Yreka, California, I had the honor and privilege of getting to lead as male clergy on something called the Walk to Emmaus for a group of ladies. And one of the things that I saw, or that I heard about at that walk, was a statement that had been placed up in a church in Tennessee, and the saying has stuck with me. You are a beloved child of the Most High God. You are beautiful to behold, and you have something to share. And what I want us to see and to understand is that you and I, all of us, are children of the Most High God. All of us are beautiful to behold because of what He has done in us and wants to do through us. We are children. We are His children. And though we come from different backgrounds and perhaps have had different struggles and different experiences with our biological parents, we come here as one family, called together by God, the creator of the universe, our Father in heaven. And so the reason why I think this is so important is because this understanding this, grasping onto this, living out of this will help us to develop our relationship with God as our Father. And it will help us to understand how we belong not just in the group, but how we belong to one another. And what we have to share with the world around us. So throughout this next year, I really believe that what God is calling us to do is to rediscover who we are. Oftentimes in the church, we are quick to focus on changing our behaviors. And we've become slow at helping one another understand who we are. And I really think that this next year, we are meant to walk with one another as we follow after Jesus, coming to understand who we are as God's children, as individuals and as a church. That we might know how we belong in this world, that we might know where we belong in this world, and that we might know what we have to offer this world. Blessings.